Hey, welcome to Fantasy Football Matchup. Tommy, Jed, this is week 6. We're almost towards the middle of the season, actually.
Yep, and we had another boring Thursday night football game last night.
Yeah, Jed, did you watch any of the game?
No, I was just saying. I started watching it. And I was like, I'm not. This is boring. I stopped watching. It was not good, and I didn't play any. I'm glad I didn't play McLaughlin from the Denver Broncos, that rookie running back. It was a pretty fantasy wise was pretty boring. I mean, other than Kelsey, I think Kelsey had a good outing, and
Cortland Kelsey had a great game, especially in the first half.
Yeah,
he had close to almost 20 points, right, without scoring a touchdown too.
Exactly, and then Sutton had that touchdown. But other than that, it felt like it was just a field goal fest.
Yeah. There was this picture going around on Facebook that was comparing Russell Wilson and how he was almost as good this year compared to Patrick Mahomes. But last night, Russell Wilson got 8.9 points where he had 2 interceptions. He was terrible yesterday.
Tom, I saw you picked up Russell Wilson in one of your teams. Why did you pick him up?
You know what? He at least, I didn't play him this week. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of times he's okay. I mean, so I may just drop him and Brock Purdy's sitting out there. So I may just end up going Brock Purdy as well, too.
Yeah. So do you guys think Russell Wilson's done? Or is it Russell Wilson's fault, I guess, is really the question.
I didn't watch the game, so I can't judge. I know earlier the concern was he couldn't throw downfield as much, and he's lost some arm strength. So I don't know if that's still the case, but he's probably, I mean, think about it. In the NFL, it's why you see the QB position is so hard. He's probably still good enough, even at 50%, to still have a position. I mean, there's so many people who need quarterbacks.
But look at Denver as well, too. I think a lot of times Sean Payton is trying to figure out what team he has. In the last couple of weeks, Randy Gregory has been traded. Now, Frank Clark over at Denver, their big-time free agent signing, is probably they're going to get rid of him. Jerry Jeudy, they said he's on the trading block. Cortland Sutton is on the trading block. Who knows? This may be a completely rebuilding team in which a lot of times they need to restock and redraft all their players.
Yeah, October 31st is the trade deadline for a lot of these free agents. Javonte Williams rushed 10 times for 52 yards. Tom, did you play him last night?
No, I didn't, but I still have high hopes for Javonte Williams. Look, he's 5'11", built very, very well. And so a lot of times I still have high hopes for Javonte Williams. Probably not this year. I'm hoping that he'll probably get me into the playoffs as he recovers from ACL injury. I mean, he had a massive knee injury, but I do have high hopes for him toward the end of the year.
Yeah. We talked about Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy caught 3 of 5 targets for 14 yards. Any of you guys think that he's somebody to be worth being on your roster?
No, I think, no. I mean, I have Cortland Sutton sitting on my bench on one team.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about the Steve Smith rant on Jerry Jeudy. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. I was always a fan of Steve Smith back in the day, and he really took Jerry Jeudy to task.
Oh, no. He had some choice words to say about him.
Yeah, so it was a good one to go listen to. But no, I've been disappointed with the whole passing offense in Denver. So personally, the only one like I said, Cortland Sutton maybe, but even him, I'm not starting him.
Yeah, and he might be. There's rumors out there that he's going to be traded. Right? He caught 4 of 6 targets for 46 yards and a touchdown. Touchdown saved him. I mean, it was a good. He had both foot in. It was a good touchdown, but that's when one of the things that they were saying is they said they don't understand why Russell Wilson is not going down the field to these receivers more.
See, and it might be because he can't. It might be he knows he's no longer able to throw that deep ball, so that could be it.
Yeah. So, the person who I think you guys should be watching out for, Rashee Rice. Rookie wide receiver. He caught 4 targets for 72 yards, but he's really become like the number 2 target for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And a lot of times as Travis Kelce gets older, if you look at all the wide receivers, there are so many attempted passes going to Rashee Rice. So if you have a dynasty, I totally look at Rashee Rice.
Yeah. And then, of course, we talked about Travis Kelce, right? He didn't score a touchdown, but he did do 99 targets, 124 yards. He had almost 19 fantasy points. So he did really well last night.
You can't go wrong with Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends as well, too. And we all know tight ends is very, very hard to come by.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the best tight end for sure. I mean, we're going to talk about our redraft a little bit later, but Kelsey is one of the locks for sure in that top
Well,
10.
you know what I was going to text you guys yesterday, even with the redraft. I was like, you can't go wrong with a good tight end, right? Because if you know that your tight end's getting 20 points, that's usually what 8 points that you're getting from that position. 20 points makes a difference being good at tight end.
Or even defense as well too. The Dallas Cowboys was carrying me for the first 3-4 weeks, and last week they laid an egg, and San Francisco did so well, and I actually lost where I was heavily favored to win until the Sunday night football game, and I completely lost it because Dallas got me -3 points.
Negative points are the worst.
Yes,
That's always so
negative
bad.
3 points.
Yeah,
And my
I
opposing guy got San Francisco, and they just completely killed me.
see.
Yeah.
I and Dallas is an interesting team for us to talk about. I know we're going to talk about matchups later against the Chargers later, but I think they are not good. Like at the end of the day, I think they are not what we thought they were going to be. I think all the fantasy players, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Dak's been just horrendous.
Yes.
So I just don't think they are as good. Basically, I think Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, left, right? He's with the Chargers
Yeah.
now. And I think that really hurt them. And they are just not the team that they were last year.
Well,
Yeah.
more so, Joe, don't you think Dak Prescott just stinks? He just doesn't have it anymore. CD Lamb has not. CD Lamb is a great player. Pollard is a great player. But with the absence of a good quarterback and Prescott, a lot of times coming back from all those injuries, they've been terrible.
See, I chalk that up to offensive scheme, though. They still have a good offensive line. They still have Tony Pollard. And I would say of the players, of the skill players, Tony Pollard, I have Pollard. You guys know I'm holding on to him. I'm not trading him. I think he's going to pop back and he'll be fine. I think you just need to be patient. But I mean, Tommy, it's got to be scheme because they've got the line, they've got the running back. They can at least run the ball, and Prescott isn't that bad, right? He's still an athletic guy. He can throw short passes. I mean, basically they're just not putting it all together, which is the offensive coordinator.
Well, they were saying that last week on the broadcast, right? Because they were saying that for some reason they kept running the same plays over and over again, and it wasn't working. And you're right; they're not using Tony Pollard. I mean, look at what San Diego's doing with Eckler and their running backs, right? And I think losing the offensive coordinator was a big hit for them. Yeah. Anyways, hey, news and notes for this week. Tom, you lost Achane for the next, I don't know how many weeks, 4 weeks, because I think he's being put on the IR. Do you have anyone to replace him?
Okay, let me ask you a quick question as well, too. You look at James Connery's out, too. If you were me and you were stuck, there's just no one on the waiver wire, would you go after one of the Arizona running backs who Ingram is listed as the #1 starter on the depth chart? DeMarcado over at Arizona is listed as the backup. Or do you go to the Bears with Deontay Foreman, with Rashawn Johnson, Khalil Herbert out? Who would you pick? Ingram, DeMarcado, or Foreman?
So I have some thoughts on that. So I do think actually Foreman in the for the next couple of weeks is going to try to prove himself. So I actually think he's going to be a pretty decent pickup because Rashawn Johnson's coming back from a concussion. So I actually think Foreman, he's not going to do a lot, but I can see him scoring a touchdown. At least based off of reports here in Arizona, they're saying that Ingram is the person that they want to be the running back more than DeMarcado.
So I think it depends on like how many points you think you need. So if you want just some points, like you're in the 8 to 10 point range, cap at 15, I think Foreman is your safe bet. But I think if you want to hit a home run, it's DeMarcado. And that's who I'm playing. In our league, that's who I'm playing. And I know he's not listed as a starter, but talent-wise, he's clearly the better back. I think once he gets in there, and it's a good game because they're playing the Rams, it's going to be high scoring. I think there's going to be a lot of points flying around. I think DeMarcado, if you want to swing for the fences, that's the guy that you could see potentially getting, like, say, a 2-touchdown game.
What? No, Jeff Wilson Jr., who's coming off the IR this week.
For that, yeah, I have too many Dolphins anyway, so
yeah.
I'm starting Tua and Tyreek Hill. Otherwise, I would have went there.
Jeff Wilson is actually not a bad pickup. You
Oh,
know,
not
like
at
he's
all.
somebody I think is worth it, especially if he can kind of do similar to some of the things A-Chain was doing,
When
because
he was in
Mostert's going to go out at some point.
Yeah, when he was in with the 49ers, Wilson was great. But
Yeah.
man, Mostert has been just so as we're going to be talking about our redraft of the top 10, that also had me go back to look at like some of the best, late round or low dollar pickups. Mostert is one of those guys somebody got for $1, and it's like, man, he is paid out so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy and I are in this 14-team league, right? With a bunch of guys in Japan. There is nobody on the waiver wire. Absolutely no one. Well, somebody dropped Zach Moss, and so I swooped in, and
Yeah.
I paid $100. And someone said, "Why in the world did you pay $100?" Because there is no one on the waiver wire, zero. So when I see a running back like this, forget it. I'm spending all my money, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. But man, the guy got so many yardage and touchdowns. I think he still has a place going forward.
Wow, that's a big bet. And yeah, 14 teams, that's a lot. So that's tough. But I personally, you're going to have him on your bench for a while. I think they're going to ride Jonathan Taylor. They just paid him a bunch of money. There's no way he's not going to be playing. That's a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing back, this week. Him and Eckler. Eckler and Taylor are the two
coming
backs
back this week. Yeah.
Hey, but don't be surprised when these running backs who are just coming off after multi-week absences start getting a soft tissue injury. These hamstring things are plaguing the NFL at this point. Look at Justin Jefferson. Now, hey, look, he's going to be out initially 5 weeks. It's going to take him about 3 weeks to get back. They say he may be completely out for the season just because he has no contract.
Well, and also it depends on if the Vikings are like competitive or not, right? Like if they're not competitive, then he's not going to. Why is he going to take the effort to put in?
Well, I was listening to Dan Patrick yesterday, and they were debating whether or not Kirk Cousins is going to get traded by the trade deadline. And for a lot of people, I think that it's a reality. He might not be there because they're going to retool. They're going to try to get some assets, and there's some teams out there who's going to want a Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Man, you stick Kirk Cousins on the Indianapolis Colts, right? With Anthony Richardson now, that's pretty good.
Or stick him in the New Orleans Saints. Now, with a great defense, that's a great team right there.
No, he's not going to go to Saints because they got Derek Carr. I mean, he might go to a Jets. He might go to like a.
That's true. The Jets.
Yeah, I can see the Jets, right? Like depending on how Zach Wilson does, but they say that he's gotten better. But depending on what Zach Wilson does, they have a pretty good championship team right now.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, hey Jed, your guy Deshaun Watson, he's going to be out for week 6.
Yep.
And there's all these rumors about him because he's been medically cleared. There's no structural damage, but he's been out because he's chosen not to play the last few weeks.
Yeah, could not be happier at the horrible season that Deshaun Watson is having. And basically the fact that he's sitting on waiver wires because he's been so bad. So I think it's great. I don't know what is going on, but that's been probably a big miss when you talk about redrafting the Cleveland Browns. We all thought last year they were terrible. They got to get better. They've got Nick Chubb. They've got Watson coming back. They have not been good. If you have Chubb, he has not performed to what you were expecting. It's because the team as a whole has not been good, and Deshaun Watson has not been good. So again, you guys know I don't like the guy, and so it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Hey Jim, can I go over a couple quick players real fast?
Yeah, totally.
Mike Evans, limited in practice, should be able to play. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't practice, hamstring, not expected to play. Amon-Ra St. Brown, full practice, expected to play. T. Higgins, promising practice, limited practice, expected to play. Saquon Barkley, limited in practice. Odell Beckham, full participant in practice, expected to play. Yeah. So
there's some good. Who is it? Okay, what do you call it? I'm glad Mike Evans isn't going to play. Sometimes you root for some of these guys because I need Godwin to do well.
No, he's expected to play.
No. Mike Evans is expected to play? Oh, really?
Oh, expected to play.
Oh, sucks.
Yeah, I was just when you were going over that list, the ones that stood out were the Detroit Lions and just how I think that again, thinking about surprises for the season. I mean, a lot of people were high on the Lions, but man, they have been such good. They have been so good and such a gold mine for fantasy. And so, yeah, if you've
Yeah.
got Montgomery, gives out, I mean, just continue to ride that train. Sam Laporta, I think Laporta, to me, I was looking at it, he could be the steal of the draft. I mean, in a lot of places, he was a block right at the end.
Yep.
He's been top 3 in the tight end
Yeah.
position. Just a lot of good players to get at in Detroit. And I'm so happy for Detroit, right? They've been so bad for so long. It's like a good team now.
Guys, look, Kelsey's getting older, right? We always thought Mark Andrews was going to be the one that will replace him. Laporta may actually become the number 1 tight end out there pretty soon.
Yep.
In one of the leagues I'm in, Laporta, what's his name? Pakua as well
Nakua,
as
Puka.
And then Puka is carrying me, and Achan are carrying me in my league.
Yeah. Hey, question for you guys. Jonnu Smith has now vaulted to be like in a timeshare with Kyle Pitts. You guys looking at a Jonnu Smith for tight end for Atlanta?
I picked up Kyle Pitts. You saw that. Somebody dropped him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Picked him up and I was like, just throw him in there and play him. I actually think he might come back. They finally featured him last week. He had I think 7 receptions, decent week last week. And so it could work out. So no, I'm not looking at, I remember Jonnu Smith wasn't he on the Titans before?
Jonnu Smith.
Remember he was with the Patriots.
Patriots. Yeah. So, but no.
And they dropped him when they signed Mike Gesicki.
Yeah.
With Hunter Henry.
Yep. And don't you think a lot of times with him is they'll probably end up trading him from Atlanta to another team. And if he ends up in this wide receiver thrown team, I mean, he could do really, really well.
Yep.
Atlanta does find pretty good players off the garbage heap, right? Like, look at Cordell Patterson. He did pretty well. They found Jonnu Smith, and Desmond Ridder is starting to come to its own. So maybe he'll have another good game this week as well, too.
I don't know. I don't think I'm not betting on the Falcons. I don't feel like that team knows what they're doing. I mean, Bijan Robinson has been great. I think that's been still a good pickup. If you spent your money on him, you've been fine. But as a team, if I was an Atlanta Falcons fan, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be
but here's the hope, right? Drake London, the last 2 weeks, has scored close to like 15 fantasy points, which went from nothing to 15. So I feel like he's doing pretty well. You add in Jonnu Smith and Algier. You add in if Kyle Pitts can ever kind of figure himself out. They actually have a makings, and their defense is actually really good. Remember, they signed out those free agents this summer, so their team is actually not bad.
The 2 players that I think I was so impressed by last week, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne, is going full out. I think they're going to do really well for the rest of the season. Dalvin Cook is pretty much, he's droppable. Just drop him. But Breece Hall, just keep riding Breece Hall.
And see, we talked about if you had to hit Breece Hall, everybody was down on him week 2, week 3 because the Jets were so bad, just trying to figure things out. So you could have got him really cheap, on a trade. And yeah, I agree with you. I think the talent is just impressive. And then the Jags won both games in London. And yeah, ETN, I think they're finally starting to figure out they need the running game to support Trevor Lawrence.
Well, even Trevor Lawrence, I think, has gotten better. Last week was his first week where he threw 300 yards. He still threw an interception, but he's at least gotten better, right, the last few weeks.
Yeah, I look for the Jags to continue, to get back because they didn't start off the year strong, which is unfortunate, but we'll see.
I will say, let me tell you a trade that I make that I am regretting. Here's my trade. And this is where I was like, why did I even make that stupid trade? Garrett Wilson and James Cook, I got for Puka Nacua and Breece Hall.
Oh, yeah, that's painful. That's
a bad trade.
Hopefully it wasn't a keeper. If it was keeper, that was
it wasn't a keeper. But here's how I looked at it, right? And I should have given up Jahmyr Gibbs because it was either Gibbs or Breece Hall. I was like, I'm more hopeful on Gibbs, so I traded Breece Hall, but I am regretting it. Good thing that the person I traded the players to, he has a really bad team, and so he hasn't won a game this year. But still, I'm like regretting that trade.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, the logic behind that trade is Breece Hall was on the Jets team. They've been struggling. Puka Nacua, a lot of times, who would have thought that Cooper Kupp, if he got back, he would still just be as good. But he got a touchdown. He's still getting the target shares, even with Cooper Kupp. Hey, look, to the point where Von Jefferson got traded here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Look, I mean, if what's his name? Aaron Rodgers was quarterback for the New York Jets, we'd be talking about Garrett Wilson a lot more right now. And Garrett Wilson was like heavily favored to be in the top 10 at the beginning. Actually, speaking of us, okay, so here's the top players when we first started drafting in August. This was the rankings, consensus rankings for most people. Justin Jefferson was number 1. Then Jamar Chase was number 2. Christian McCaffrey was number 3. Austin Eckler number 4. Tyreek Hill number 5. Stephon Diggs number 6. CD Lamb number 7. Amon-Ra St. Brown number 8. Travis Kelce number 9. And then you have a combination of AJ Brown, Devontae Adams for the 10th. So heavy on the wide receivers. So, Tom, how would you have redrafted? Oh, Tom, I don't think we can hear you.
Oh, you got knocked out somehow.
Yeah. Jed,
so for me, yeah, like I mean, again, I think we talked about some of the misses, this year. I think we early on, if you had to listen to our podcast, we were all high on, or I was high, especially on Miami. So the Tyreek Hill thing, I think, has been great. Like I personally hit that one. Like I had Tyreek Hill over both Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I think if we redrafted, you would still draft Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson high. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, everyone's worried about them. They finally had a good game last week. I think they turned things around. So I'm looking, if you are holding on to Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, do not worry. I think that team comes around. I would stick to my guns there. I think, again, looking at top 10 running backs too, Austin Eckler, he's been out, but clearly Christian McCaffrey, we talked about that. Christian McCaffrey has been number 1. I think he still should have been number 1.
He could be potentially MVP, right?
Definitely.
Him and Josh Allen have been being talked about as MVP, but he's having a great season.
Yeah, remember I told you that was my pick for fantasy MVP of the year is Christian McCaffrey, and he's amazing. But I have high hopes for Austin Eckler. For those of you guys waiting, I think he's going to have a great rest of the year. Hopefully he just stays injury free. So he's still top 10. I think Bijan Robinson in the top 10, still solid pick. Yeah. Stephon Diggs has had a great year, even though, you haven't heard, like, it's been a little bit iffy, but if you look at his numbers, he's still been top 10. So none of those fall. I think the big one is, like I said earlier, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb doesn't belong in the top 10. CeeDee Lamb, the whole Dallas Cowboys, you got to knock them all down.
Yeah. And wouldn't you say a lot of times if you were to go down later, you will consider DJ Moore, AJ Brown have been doing really, really well.
Oh, I'm so happy with DJ Moore. You guys know I had him pegged as a number 1. And after the first 2 weeks, I was like, man, that's where I missed. But actually, he's really come back strong. And Justin Fields, too. I'm playing Fields over Tua in at least one league right now.
If I had the 8th, 9th, and 10th pick, I would really seriously be looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, and DJ Moore.
Yeah, no, Jalen Waddle has been a disappointment for a lot of people. And then also Saquon Barkley, but we'll see what happens when he comes back as well, too.
Yeah. But still, I mean, honestly, McCaffrey, I didn't think he would do as well just because you have Elijah Mitchell and a lot of times you have Deebo Samuel and all of those guys. But McCaffrey has been outstanding. To think the Carolina Panthers have Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore sitting there, and they traded all of them.
I saw that exact same meme. I know what meme you're talking about, where they're like, could you imagine this team that had these guys and they traded them? It's like, what a mistake. The one for me that I regret is, and I know injury concern, but DeAndre Swift in Philadelphia. I just forgot about how good Philadelphia's offensive line is. That offensive line is insane. You put anybody in there, they're going to do well. And as long as Swift stays healthy, you're going to get your points. So that's the guy I feel like
I paid a lot. I went after Bijan Robinson quite a bit in leagues. And I actually think that you can make the argument that he could have been the number 2 running back after McCaffrey to be drafted this year. So quarterback wise, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, they're pretty standard, but you can't go wrong drafting some of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I probably would save my money for Tua. I think if I had to look at it all over again, forget the Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, I would save my money for Tua. A lot of times you didn't know exactly how well he's going to do, concussion issues, all of that stuff. But Tua has been beside. If you didn't get Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, I'm going with Tua.
Oh, Tua's been phenomenal. Again, there's still the injury risk, so we got to be concerned there. But Tua has been great. I mean, I still think, I mean, Fields, yeah, you probably paid a decent amount, but his legs have just really helped him. But I actually think Allen, we'll see if he pops back a little bit. Allen and Justin Herbert, to me, have not been, as great as you would have hoped for what you probably paid. They haven't paid out as well. Like they're still having decent seasons, but not having these phenomenal seasons that you.
Jed, I've been hoping for Lamar Jackson. I keep sitting there. I think he's been having decent games. The 20s. I'm waiting for 30, close to 39 points. That's what I'm waiting for. He hasn't gotten that point yet.
Yep, exactly.
Guys, a couple of players that if you look down, that's been a disappointment. Josh Jacobs has been a disappointment. Derrick Henry, Devontae Smith. If you go further down, those guys are people that, went high that you could have gone for somebody else. Ramondre Stevenson is on that list as well, too.
Yeah. The one guy that I've been disappointed is Devontae Adams a lot of times. And we kind of know that one being with the Las Vegas Raiders as well, too. But Ramondre Stevenson, everyone had high hopes for. Look, I'm not sure that Bill Belichick's going to survive this. I think he may have a good chance of being fired here.
Dude, the Patriots stink. I mean, I think that's been really surprising, right? You knew that division, you could argue, is probably one of the tougher divisions. But man, the Patriots have not looked good. So yeah, I think Ramondre Stevenson it's definitely been. And the other one we didn't talk about was Travis Etienne. We talked about a little bit. So I think he's been a nice surprise. You could have drafted him much higher. He was probably going in the 25, 26 range. But also Kenny Walker has not been bad in Seattle. He's been carrying that team. So that's not
until Charbonnet comes in. I'm still sitting there waiting for Charbonnet to be the starting running back by the end of the year.
Yeah, I've been holding him too. It's been hard holding. Oh, and I should mention the Chargers. Keenan Allen, though, Keenan Allen always gets drafted kind of late. I was just looking at it here. Someone got him for $12 in our league. He's been paying out really well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times you think he's getting older. Mike Williams is just improving, but Mike Williams gets injured all the time. Let's see. I mean, now Keenan Allen may get injured here and there. He seems to get injured. So let's see how well he does.
Yeah. Actually, the three running backs that I've been disappointed by, Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, and Jamar Gibbs. All of those guys went pretty high. I mean, higher than like an Ayuk from San Francisco, higher than Justin Fields, higher than Breece Hall. All of them have been disappointments this year.
Yeah, actually, the biggest. Go ahead, Jed.
No, I was just gonna say I'm surprised by Aaron Jones in Green Bay. I don't know what's going on.
I think he's injured.
Because that could be it. Because Jordan Love has been playing well, so I don't understand why the run game's not there.
Yeah, but at the same time, Jordan Love has really decreased and struggled here. We saw him do really, really well, but has struggled. And Aaron Jones with that hamstring injury, AJ Dillon isn't able to help out with any of those things at all. But Jim, the guy that you forgot that I picked up in the second round, Dameon Pierce, has been very, very, very disappointing for me.
Yeah, they had not done. I mean, CJ Stroud has done well, but I think they just don't have the line. Either that, or they've just been throwing so much they forgot about Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, he was so good second half last year. Dameon Pierce was really good. Yeah, that's an interesting one
for a second round running back, especially with the first year quarterback who was supposed to sit there and carry the team. He has been terrible. The guy who has really surprised me, James Conner, with the backup quarterback, he has done really, really well.
Yeah, until he got hurt, man, that guy was carrying me in a couple leagues where I just kind of thrown in that pick and threw him in as an RB3, but he's been great. Yeah, but until this injury, we'll see how long he's out.
All right, let's run through a couple of games, and I'll do the first game: Colts versus Jaguars. This is what do you call it? Gary Minshew is coming in. Gardner Minshew is coming in, playing against his old team, the Jaguars. And some people think that these revenge games, Minshew might actually have a pretty decent team. What do you guys think about this game? And then who do you think is going to end up doing well?
The Jags are 4-point favorites in this game. It's in Jacksonville. Remember, Jacksonville's coming off of the two-game trip to London and playing well. But I love the revenge factor. I expect this to be super high scoring. If I was betting, I think I would take the Colts here just because of the spread. I think Jacksonville might win out. They might win outright. But I think the Colts with 4 points, it's going to be close.
And my hope is Calvin Ridley. Look, he's been going up a little bit, but I'm hoping Calvin Ridley will have another good game.
Yeah. Christian Kirk, I would say, is still the number one receiver, even though A lot of people thought it was Calvin Ridley. Christian Kirk is still like the person that Lawrence is going after. But you're right. Last week, Calvin Ridley did have a pretty decent game. I do think ETN is going to do well. And I think the other person that might actually, what do you guys think about? Who do you think is going to be the higher scoring running back? Zach Moss or Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, no, Zach Moss.
No, it's going to be Taylor. They're going to
Oh,
ride
man,
him.
we are so going to have a bet on this one here, Jim.
Yeah, they're going to ride him. No, they just paid the dude millions of dollars. They're going to ride him.
Do you think they're ready? This is his second game back. Don't you think they're going to ease him in, especially after such a big game from Zach Moss this past week?
No, I think they're going to ride him. That's my. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see.
Yeah. The other fantasy player to look at, Josh Downs, the rookie wide receiver from Indianapolis. He's actually doing pretty good. You know, like if someone's looking for like a third wide receiver or fourth wide receiver. So, yeah. Saints versus Texans. What's the line on that one, Jed?
The Saints are 1.5 point favorites against the Texans in Texas. So which means actually they're even stronger than that. So yeah, I think I'm taking the Texans on this one pretty much all day. I'm surprised it's not more than 1.5 points.
Tank Dell is out. Damian Pierce is playing, but like we said, he's struggling a bit. So your number one receiver is still going to be Nico Collins, who actually did have a pretty good game last week.
My player is Alvin Kamara. Let's just see how well he does. I mean, he's been doing okay, but I just want to see how Alvin Kamara does.
That rookie running back that that's running behind him, he did pretty well last week. He had 70 yards rushing. He could be somebody who could replace Kamara, but Kamara's come back pretty strong. And then Olave hasn't hit the top echelon of wide receivers, but do you think he should be one of the top receivers for fantasy purposes?
I think so. And the guy that I would probably be looking for is I'm looking for a bounce back game from CJ Stroud. Now, at the same time, New Orleans does have a great defense. It's a top 10 defense, but I will be playing both CJ Stroud as well as Nico Collins.
Okay. All right. Our Vikings versus the Bears. Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. Justin Jefferson is out. So my guess is you're going to have a new wide receiver who's going to score the most points. But going to the Bears, you guys think they'll beat the Vikings, and you think Justin Fields is going to continue his streak?
I'm worried. I've been debating if I should be sitting Fields this week. It's in Chicago, so that's nice. Minnesota's a 3-point favorite. I think that I'm taking the Vikings all day long in this game.
Really?
Yeah. I just don't.
You don't think DJ Moore and the Bears are? I actually think they can make it continue their streak.
I hope you're right, man. But I've just been so. I hope you're right. I think Addison's going to have a great game for Minnesota, so I'm looking forward to that. I've got him in. But man, I'm worried about Fields and Moore. I mean, it's been really good, but the Vikings defense is always tough for the Chicago. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Hey, the secondary for the Bears is terrible. So I have a feeling that Alexander Madison will have a bad game. But Jordan Addison, and don't sleep on TJ Hawkinson. I think that Hawkinson's going to have a very good game.
No, but here's the thing, Tom. All of them have been injured. So this is going to be the first game the entire secondary starters are going to be back. So I think that might make a difference. Who's favored, Jed?
Minnesota is favored by 3 points, which is in Chicago. So remember, in Chicago, the home team gets 3 points. So that actually means Minnesota is favored by 6, really.
Yeah. I actually think the Bears can make it. I think Deontay Foreman's going to have a good game. I think DJ Moore's going to have a pretty okay game. I think Fields is going to do good. Addison, like you said, is going to be good. I think Osborne is going to be good as well too. So
hey, with Eberflus calling the defensive plays, all he needs to do, and I listened to him on interview, is he has to change up and blitz a little bit more. They're not able to get pressure up in the front. They got to blitz Kirk Cousins. You give him enough time, he'll find those open receivers.
Yeah. Hey, quick question. Cole Kmet. He scored a touchdown in the last 2 games. Is he a worthy pickup?
That's not a bad move. I mean, again, we talked about the tight ends is such a tough position. I mean, yeah, he's at the bottom there, but it's definitely I think he's worthy of a spot, like a roster.
Yeah. But if I had to pick over him or let's say Dalton Schultz has been doing outstanding for Houston. A lot of times I would probably look at Dalton Schultz, who probably is sitting on your waivers.
Yeah. Jets versus Eagles. Jed, you were talking about how you were impressed by the offensive line of the Eagles. Who's favorite there?
Oh, it's definitely going to be the Eagles. This one, Eagles are 7-point favorites in New York. Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles all day in this one, but like I said, they might be able to keep it close. Brees Hall can get going if they can keep the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hand, but I really like the Eagles in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before Jimmy goes to the next one, guess who's playing Sunday night again?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that. The stinking Giants. Seriously, the Giants are the most boring team.
Again.
Yeah, and they're playing the Bills. Oh, that's actually one of the biggest spreads. The Bills are 14.5. I can't believe I'm looking at that. The Bills are 14.5-point favorites against the Giants.
The Giants and Darren Waller, right? Darren Waller's nicked up, but the Giants are the most boring. It's either them or Denver. Those two teams, I hate watching them.
Man, guys,
I do not understand why Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football keeps putting the Giants on primetime TV. They're just boring. They're just a boring team.
Well, they want the. I mean, okay, I'm trying to think. Who do you even play on the Giants fantasy wise? Right? There's nobody.
No, Darren Waller.
Darren Waller.
No,
yeah.
I mean if he's out, let's just say he's out. Is there anybody else? Oh, Saquon. Saquon should be potentially coming back this week.
I thought he was out.
Yeah, Saquon is he's iffy. Yeah, limited practice. I would probably look. Waller's probably your best one. You're not playing Daniel Jones, who actually has a good chance of being out on this one. Sterling Shepard. No, you're not playing any of those guys.
Yeah, 14.5-point, man. That's so tempting to me as a bettor. I'm like, man, 14.5 points. That's a lot of points. But I think the Bills are gonna crush them.
Well, hey, that means a lot of times. Look, you're playing Stephon Diggs. You're also playing James Cook, but Gabe Davis. If you have Gabe Davis sitting there, be tempted to play Gabe Davis.
I mean, here's the thing: is what they just signed Daniel Jones to a new contract this year. So most likely they're not going to go for another quarterback unless they want to lose all of that money. But Daniel Jones is not. But you would think, but here's the thing, right? It's their old coach. Dayball is playing against the Bills. So do you think they'll come somewhat close because of that?
No, they're not good enough.
No way.
Especially if Daniel Jones is not playing. Who's the backup? If Daniel Jones is not playing, they're going to get killed.
Yeah. Okay, Monday night game. Actually, this is not bad. The Cowboys versus Chargers. They're going to play their old offensive coordinator. My guess, Chargers are going to try to screw it into the Cowboys. They're going to they're going to try to demolish these guys.
Guys, this is the lock pick of the week. The Cowboys are 2-point favorites against the Chargers in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Dude, no way. Like we just talked about, I think the Cowboys are a mirage. I think Kellen Moore is going to pull out all the stops. The Chargers are going to stomp them. I would take the Chargers with even 7 points. I think they're going to crush that.
Hey, if I was a betting man, I would put some money on the Chargers.
Exactly. This is a game I would put money on.
Yeah.
No, I disagree. Dan Quinn and the Dallas defense took a beating against San Francisco. They're angry. They're going to want to come back. I have high hopes for Dan Quinn and the defense of the Dallas Cowboys.
No, but here's the thing. They gave up on Kellen Moore, right? So Kellen Moore is going to have motivation. He's got Eckler back. He's got Keenan Allen back. He's got Justin Herbert entirely healthy. I mean, who else does Cowboys have? Like their secondary is not that good. Micah Parsons is somewhat injured. They're gonna go hard after that.
Yeah, with Dallas's defense, without what's his face, Diggs.
Diggs,
right? Diggs, yeah. Without Diggs, they are just a different team. Like he was such an important piece of the defense, and so yeah, I agree. I mean, I love Chuck Parsons. I think he's fun, so much fun to watch. But I think ultimately the Chargers are going to win this.
Yeah, but I have been thinking if there's somebody out there who wants to trade a Tony Pollard right now, because he's low, he's somebody you want to go after because he's low.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, is there a player right now that's kind of injured right now that you know that people will give up that you want to trade in preparation for later on in the season?
It was Joe Burrow last week. Remember we were talking about him, Jed?
Yep.
And I was sitting there trying to decide if I want to pick up. I was like, I was kicking myself on Sunday when I saw him picking. I was like, oh shoot.
Oh, he had a great game. And remember we talked about, we were like, something is. Anytime you guys see these teams, like Cincinnati is a perfect example. How could they start the season so bad? You have to ask, okay, we're not getting all the information. Somebody is hurt, and clearly Joe Burrow's preseason injury played more into it. He's finally looking healthy. That team's going to turn things around. That's why, like, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, even Joe Mixon in the backfield. Those are all guys I'm looking at because I think it's going to pick up.
Tom, the two people I would potentially consider, but only potentially, is Ramondre Stevenson and Jamar Gibbs from the Lions. Those guys are really low. And so I think somebody would trade you, but you're also putting the risk on the fact that they're going to do better.
Yeah. And the guy I keep watching over every single week to see how well he does, because Alexander Madison is not doing well. Cam Akers. I'm always monitoring how Cam Akers does.
No, I don't like. I'm not Cam Akers guy.
I could see it. I could see it coming back. You know, you never know.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, and also Roshan Johnson, if he comes back from his concussion, he has a chance to be your starting running back and overtake Khalil Herbert.
Yeah. I actually like Roshan Johnson a lot. I actually think that he's a really good player, but I do think that these next couple of weeks, Deontay Foreman is going to be the player that you want to get. But long term, it's going to be Roshan Johnson.
Yeah. And don't be surprised, as we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, Denver will keep dismantling this team. They're going to try to trade as many assets as they possibly can. And Sean Payton's going to want to rebuild this entire team into his own image. They're getting rid of all these older superstars or free agent signings, from Randy Gregory to Frank Clark. And they're looking at all of these other Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton. Don't be surprised as they continue to get rid of everyone.
I can see Sutton being the next person out. Anyways, okay, so this week we've got a couple more minutes. We start basketball drafts. Are you guys ready for these NBA drafts coming up?
Not ready yet, but looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I have my entire team all set. The very fact that I have 4 of your top 5 superstars, I can sit there and just kind of cherry pick like LeBron James. So he gets injured, but when he's in, he'll get me points and rebounds. I'm looking forward to this season.
Hey, is it true? Did you guys see yesterday? Did he sign a new deal?
No.
I think he signed a 2-year deal for $90-something million. I don't know if that's true. I thought I saw the headlines for that.
Oh, did you guys see the thing about Shaquille O'Neal and
Allen Iverson with Reebok?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. We'll see how that goes.
Well, look, Reebok must be so desperate for them to bring in Shaquille O'Neal, because a lot of times it's not like, look, Shaquille O'Neal definitely has some business experience. Allen Iverson, so I'm not sure unless somehow Allen Iverson sold so many Reeboks for them back in the day.
Well, remember, Allen Iverson signed the smartest, like he's the guy that's got all that money that pops when he turns like 40 or something. So that was a good move.
Hey, I don't know if you guys are ready for this, but do you guys have any good sleepers for basketball that we need to pay attention to this year?
I'm sure Tommy does. All I would say is I'll say it by team, which is that I'm looking at the Spurs, I'm looking at the Thunder, and I'm looking at the Trailblazers as 3 teams to look for kind of sleeper. Sleeper rookies and sophomores.
The one Portland Trailblazer that you need to look at that we were talking about last week, Shaden Sharp. Look at Shaden Sharp. Scoot Henderson's going to come. He's going to lead. He's going to get all that stuff. But I think Shaden Sharp, I have high. Devin Vassell over at the San Antonio Spurs. He did very good. I think he's going to, oh man, I am looking forward to, now he gets injured a little bit here and there. Chet Holmgren. I'm really interested in that Chet Holmgren.
Because he was out all last year, right? Chet
no, not all. It was like a little more than half. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah, agreed. Those are all fun players.
I think Oklahoma has a really good team, right? Shea Alexander is your guy that you want to pick, but they've got some pretty well-rounded players that you want to pick up from there.
Shea Alexander is a stud. People still sleep on him all the time. That guy's a stud.
Yeah. The guy that you should never pick up right now because he keeps getting in trouble, do not look at Miles Bridges from the Charlotte Hornets. He got in trouble again, and there's a warrant out for him again. Do not touch Miles Bridges.
You guys going after Zion pretty high? There's always going to be somebody who's going to go after potential for Zion Williamson.
I'm not. I'm staying away until I personally hope that things work out for him, but I wouldn't draft him as far as fantasy. What's the status with Ja Morant? Is like suspension? Like what's
suspension?
The status?
Yeah, but Derrick Rose is starting in place of him.
Yeah.
But for how long?
He's somebody I'm staying away from. Ja Morant. The other person I'm staying away from. I'm staying away from Chris Paul from the Golden State Warriors.
Oh,
that guy's going to be injured.
Chris Paul is the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA. Like I do not like Chris Paul. I've never liked the guy. But how long is Ja Morant out?
25 games.
Okay, so about a fourth of the season. All right, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
I mean,
I
who
mean,
else is on that team? Just Jaren Jackson, right? If I think about
Derrick
it.
Rose. They took Derrick
No,
Rose.
Derrick Rose is so old now. He's
I
not gonna
know,
do
but he's so
anything.
good. Derrick
Yeah.
Rose is such a good.
I'm going to spoil it for you guys, all right? Because I know I love Miles Turner. I love Jaren Jackson. I love Wayne Kessler. I am going after one of those three, not Rudy Gobert, because a lot of times he keeps fighting with Karl Anthony Towns. But I love Wayne Kessler, Jaren Jackson, and Miles Turner. But the guy that I'm staying away from that everybody's going to pick, Austin Reeves, is going to be picked so high because of all his things in the Olympics and everything like that. I am avoiding Austin Reeves.
Mm. The player actually I really like a lot, Sabonis. Out in Sacramento, he's always pretty consistent for you. I like Sabonis.
Yeah. And another person who has been really down last year, but I think with the new change of team, John Collins with the Utah Jazz. He was struggling in Atlanta. They weren't playing him, but I have a feeling in Utah, they're going to be playing him. Him paired up with Markkanen. John Collins is someone to pay attention to.
Yeah. Markkanen is actually a really good player. I think he's a really good all-around player. Markkanen.
Yeah, it sucks that we had him, and you know
Yeah.
the reality is that he had to leave Chicago, I think, to hit his potential. His confidence was just too shot here. But man, that guy is so good.
No, okay. So did you guys watch any of the baseball playoffs? And then we can finish up with this
No.
last week. Yes. Philadelphia has two former Cubs players that went off in the playoffs. Kyle Schwarber and who's the other guy who hit a multi-hit home run?
Yeah, the only thing is Jimmy's looking it up. I can understand why they got rid of Kyle Schwarber. I wish the Sox had got him.
Yeah.
You literally get a guy who hits 214. Now he gets 47 homers, but a lot of times low batting average, it strikes out quite a lot.
Yeah. Tom, Nick Castellanos. Remember how good he was a couple years ago? He broke the record for playoffs by having 2 straight games with multi-hit home runs.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I mean, I wish the Cubs could sign him, but back at that time, they were trying to dump payroll. They just were not. And so a lot of times I know Philadelphia offered him so much more money for Castellanos.
Yeah, Castellanos is good. He's a good player.
But then at the same time, you look at Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn from the White Sox was giving up so many home runs. And so a lot of times it's and some of your older Cubs are terrible. They're just terrible right now.
Well, anyways, I'm not an Arizona player, but Arizona just made the NLCS and they're going to play the Phillies. And I was like, you know what? I actually might think about considering going to one of the games and just checking it out.
You should. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I got to go, guys.
Okay, can I say one more thing before we go? Connor Bedard got the highest viewership at ESPN. Did really, really well. I'm excited about Connor Bedard.
Yeah, if you're in Chicago, get tickets, man. The guy is a highlight show. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
Yeah.
Good luck.